Hello, and welcome to The Wandering Path. Thank you so much for joining us for our first story and for these inaugural world-building episodes. We're so excited to create something for you. I'm Mischa Stanton. I'm going to be running our first game.
Yay!
I have podcasted for a long time and run games for a long time and only done them together now. So we'll see how it goes.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah,
Truly.
I think so. That's probably true. Can we go around and just do a quick intro?
Yes. Hi, I'm Mayanna Baron. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since college, and I
Hold for sirens.
Yeah. All right.
Hold, please.
We made the apartment sound so good, but living next to a fire station, nothing we could do.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
It's cool. Go ahead.
I do live plays. I'm doing vampire, and I like dogs.
Nice.
So that's
Excellent.
me. That's
Solid.
me.
The insights.
Good to know.
Hi, I'm Bex. I am an actor and a menace. I've been doing some actual play stuff. I played a little bit of vampire stuff, but mostly I just do it with my friends. And now I'm excited to do it with my friends and record it.
Yeah.
I'm Lynn Raffil. I am not an actor in the slightest.
You are now.
But I am now.
Yeah, baby.
One of us. One of us.
I have been surrounding myself with actors and podcasters for many years, though, so it was also a long time coming. I've been playing tabletop games for... a long time now. I was like, since college. And then I was like, I don't want to do the math on
No.
when
You don't
in
have to. I
college.
didn't.
And now, let's not
won't.
do that.
I
Danger.
didn't go
Yeah,
to
like-
college.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. I love games. I love storytelling. I love friends. And I mean, I invested in this microphone, so I guess I have to use it now.
Yeah.
Truer words were never said.
Leans into his mic.
Hi, my name is Ian McEwen. I'm an actor. You may know me if you know Mischa's work from Star Tripper, aka Fest in
buddy.
Texas. I've played tabletop games and Magic since I was like 10 at my local hobby shop with people who were 40 and chain smoking cigarettes outside and allowed a 10-year-old to hang out with them. So that was wild. But I had actually never played D&D until the pandemic, where Mischa was my D&D Sherpa.
Yeah.
Or not D&D, live play.
That was D&D.
D&D.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if we can say, can we say, is D&D going to come after us?
No.
Try to take our
no,
podcast?
that's part of the license. No, so we are going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons for this first game.
Oh, great.
Just to make sure everyone who happens to find this podcast knows part of the rules before they sit down. That we figured there was a pretty good chance of that.
Mhm.
That said, I am a huge fan of hacking D&D, of putting other games in this game, of using third-party modules, and even homebrewing some stuff, subclasses, spells, what have you. All of which is in service of the world. So let's talk about a world.
Yay.
We're going to create a world live here on mic, and then we're going to populate it with characters and plot, and hopefully some moments that'll make you feel some things too. To start us off, I have a few questions here. I'm going to read all of the questions first, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Question 1. What's the tone? What are you hoping to see? I've asked you all to bring some vibes to the table, ideas, statements, feelings, genres, or media properties. What vibes do you want to play, and can we find a hook for our world? Question 2. What do we not want to see? What are we tired and bored of, disinterested in, or unexcited about? What are some boundaries we have around some of the tones and vibes? What do we not like about the things we like? Question 3, what is the scope of our game? Do we want to travel a continent, explore a cosmos, or focus in on one town or city? Question 4, how populated is this world? Why do people band together? Why do people fight? Question 5, what resources are scarce here? What resources are abundant? What economy exists to spread resources around, if any? Question 6, what role does magic play in this world, if any? Technology, religion, government. I imagine since we're playing Dungeons & Dragons, magic will have some kind of presence in this world, because Dungeons & Dragons is a rule set that has magic in it. That said, I've seen games that are like, yeah, we're a high-tech environment and all of our little devices cause spells to occur. So we can play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
And question 7 is, what are some unique challenges this society faces? How do people generally deal with them day to day? For example, I've played games where like it's an airship society, but the ground is hella dangerous and there's horrible
floor is
monsters down there.
lava?
Yeah. So that could be a unique
Oops, all
challenge.
lava.
Oops, all lava.
So yeah, does anybody have a place to start with that? Does anybody want to start with some vibes?
Oh, so we can pick any question on the
You
list?
can pick any of these questions and we'll just talk about them. I just want to keep these questions in mind while we discuss the world.
Sure.
These are the focal points.
Have any of y'all played Tales of Symphonia?
No, but I've seen some people play.
There's 2 things I really like in Tales of Symphonia. It's a great game. It was on the GameCube. The first thing is that people are normal, but if they have special abilities, they have them because they have this thing called an X sphere. It's a tiny little orb that you have to attach safely to your body, so it requires like a crest of some kind. And you find out midway through the game, spoiler alert, that every X sphere is a person's soul that has been harvested from a factory.
Whoa.
So every person who has a special ability or an X sphere is carrying around the soul of someone that they may or may not know.
Okay.
Heavy.
The second thing about the world is you start out in this continent called, or like a planet called Silverant that is like waning in magic. And your job is to help like escort this religious person around to these temples to try and bring the magic back slowly. And what you discover is that there's actually a parallel planet that is abundant with magic, and basically every cycle, one chosen has to pull the magic back to their world. They die, and then another chosen happens in the other world, and so they just keep going on these pilgrimages, constantly pulling and pushing magic. Yeah.
That's like the most controversial part of the first Full Metal Alchemist anime,
Oh,
where
really?
the energy for alchemy comes from deaths in a parallel world, which happens to be our world in the midst, like between World War I and World War II.
That is so funny. I love it.
No one likes that ending except for
sounds
me.
awful.
I think that's an amazing
That sounds
ending.
really cool. That actually perfectly sidelines into something that I really like is the like as far as magic in the role. I love stories where magic comes with a price.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily need to be something so grim, but just or even negative. But the idea that magic isn't necessarily a finite resource, but is something that is a consequence of something else. I love stories in which magic has like a tangible essence to it that makes it a resource that you have to replenish or manufacture. Even if it's just like, oh, there's a realm in which magic is abundant, we like have to channel that realm.
Yeah.
Either through like a sacrifice of our own body or by like paying homage to that realm, like with like fairy rules or something, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, if it's going to be a system where magic is a resource, which is what Dungeons and Dragons does, and by design, D&D was supposed to be a magic scarce world, and like the people who can utilize magic are very special for that reason. I'm like, I don't need that kind of high fantasy where magic is that rare, but it should have like a consequence aspect to it.
Well, I think that there's a way to make a world where like convenience is abundant, where like technology has sort of met the things that magic lacks. And so that like nobody is really like suffering for lack of magic, but that magic remains rare.
Yeah.
So that like people who don't have magic have other ways to get what they need.
Like Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
In my list of vibes, there's a lot of Avatar references.
I just also love that you said Legend of Korra, and then everyone in their own little moment was like, "Oh, huh,
Yeah.
Korra, all right."
I mean,
the
Legend of
Avatar,
Korra is
not
one of the
important.
vibes that I had
okay.
down for this.
Strong vibe. So like magic technology, like what's the level of technology? Is it cyberpunk far future, or is it like we have cars but not cell phones? One of my favorite period defining words that my friend Amanda McLaughlin from the podcast Join the Party came up with recently was setting something between 2002 and 2007, calling it PIPNI, which stands for pre-iPhone, post 9/11.
Oh my fucking god!
I mean,
oh my
that's-
god!
It's such a specific time period, though.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
It really, really was.
I'm not even good with time, and I can pinpoint that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like
There were a lot of America Pride songs. A lot of freedom
this is
fries.
very specific to like American capitalism.
Yeah.
In that era.
Well, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just really intrigued by that. I'm
I
like, I'm
do-
about to write another paper.
Weirdly like the idea though of a society that like just overcame something and they're like weirdly like emboldened now. They're like, nothing's gonna stop us now. The worst thing that could happen has happened and now we're indestructible. And you're like,
Nothing can go
right
wrong.
on, buddy. Right on.
What could go wrong?
That was a one and done.
Yeah.
This isn't a sign of things to come.
No.
And that sort of leads right into what we were talking earlier about of like wanting to trust each other but not being able to.
Yeah.
Sure.
It would be interesting if that trust is a thin veneer
Yeah.
of things. Like everyone actually is trusting, but it's only surface level of like
because everyone's really scared.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's like if you invoke the fear, it's like toxic positivity
Yeah.
where it's like, shh, it's the bad part's over. The bad part
It's very
happened.
Cold War.
Yeah.
That's what
You know?
that's what I was just thinking. It's like, what's that event that's in the past? Is it that we just won a big war?
War, yeah.
Right. And so it's like a new nation or a new society is just like is kind of set, but also kind of not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
A
love
little
that.
too excited.
Very like Gilded Age.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are really excited, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, "We did it!"
Yeah.
And other people are like, "This feels
yeah.
strange."
Yeah.
It's just like, are we not going to talk about
Yeah.
that? I guess.
Nah, that's the past.
Yeah.
It's over. We're
mind all
done.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to Legend of Korra.
Also, just to go back to what you were talking about right at the beginning, just in terms of like where we're at in terms of cell phones versus other technologies, there's something appealing to me about what you were talking about, Mayanna. Those, like that, not steampunk, but sort of elegant metal and glass, right? Those
Yes.
orbs. I was thinking kind of like I've been watching Escaflowne came into my YouTube algorithm, and I'm just watching that kind of like design. So it's like technology, but it's not American modern capitalist
Yeah.
technology.
Yes, it's like magical and like graceful and elegant.
I'm thinking like Art Deco slash
Yeah.
like Art Nouveau.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was picturing, instead of orbs, like picturing, the people that you can buy magic spells from, but all
Yeah.
the spells are in their own little Art Deco,
Like a little accessory or like a pin or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like
and
a
like there's-
charm.
Yeah.
Like charms.
Yeah.
Like collecting on your charm bracelet.
Yeah, there's a manga that I really love called Sugar Rune about witches, and they have their base wand, and if you want to learn a new spell, you have to buy like a diamond and put it on your wand. So
yeah.
like the people who have the most spells have like a bazillion diamonds on this like gorgeous wand. Yeah.
Wow,
And
I
you start
love
out
the
with
idea
one
of like
spell.
things being like bedazzled or blinged out, actually having like a
You're like,
real
"Oh,
substantial.
shit."
Right? My brain immediately went to all those crystal shop ones
Yes.
and being like,
Yeah.
those would be powerful.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like in this world, like technology is made to fuel magic, that magic is a commodity that can be traded,
Yeah.
that like you can go to a shop and buy new spells and put it in your bracelet
Yeah.
and now you know that spell.
Yeah.
I think like
and also like acquire those things in your journey, sort of like what is it, gym badges?
Yeah,
Yes,
gym
like gym badges, and maybe there's some spells that there's only like a one of one, and
Yeah.
those are really hard to come by because only
Oh,
one
spells
was
as
made.
as like collector's
Yes,
items.
yes.
Also, it's like like everyone can have.
Like
It's like you
Pokemon
have
cards.
dancing
Yeah.
lights. Everybody has dancing lights.
yeah, but mine is shiny and holographic. How about yours?
Get a grip.
I'm back in third grade again.
yeah.
I really do actually love the reality of that, though.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, yeah, my uncle's got 3 of them in the closet, like in
Yeah,
a
they're just
shoebox.
collecting dust.
Yeah.
You want one?
Yeah.
I've got a few
Pretty cool.
vintage ones back here that might be like even cooler.
I think that's such an interesting take on like spell levels too.
Yeah.
Like that cantrips are like the 1 out of like 5,000,
Yes.
and there's like so many iterations of it. Like how many freaking versions of the Pikachu cards are there? But there are some that are
Absolutely.
like specifically
Yeah.
What? Well,
aged.
the
Yes.
first thing I thought of was what happens if you get a misprinted cantrip?
Oh, and it's like it's dented, and you're
like
like
the
this
crystal
one's
is dented or
damaged.
Well,
something.
there's
Yeah.
also those like one word difference like
Oh,
can
yes.
change anything. That whole
Yes.
like the joke on the socials all the time of like change one word, change
Greek
one letter.
flame blade.
That it reminds me of Ron's broken wand, right? It's
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
just doesn't quite cast right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that could be like the flavor for like sorcerers or
Yes.
Yeah.
like wild magic surges.
Yes,
Or
yes.
that some people might just have wild magic
Oof.
surge, but it's not related to like the sorcerer class or something.
Yeah.
Like this would be a really interesting take on how to take the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons,
yeah.
but it's commodified.
How
Yeah.
would sorcerers work?
Nepo babies.
Yeah,
Here's my first thought is that sorcerers are about their power coming from their bloodline.
Yeah.
If some kind of war happened and now we have magic commodities and factories like
Test tube baby.
or some chemicals from the magic factory leached into the water, and then there were birth defects.
Yeah,
like that would be a
Wizards
one
would
in a
essentially
million
be like
thing.
engineers, which would track.
Oh yeah,
That would be really cool.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll throw this on tape just real quick. I've also I'm obsessed with the book Valda's Spire of Secrets by Mage Hand Press, which has between 10 and 12 new classes, like base classes, and so like. A craftsman, just someone who tinkers in their workshop and makes new devices that work with these crystals or whatever. It sounds like they're crystals or orbs or something.
Yes, I think
I like
crystals or orbs.
crystals.
Crystals are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Cool.
The thing too is if there was just a war that's over, there's an excess of a certain type of common piece of it.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's like what happened after World War II, where there was just like all of this stuff, and they're like toilets, toasters, refrigerators, get them while they're hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they finally created the technology for all those things.
Yeah.
I just wrote down new tech as propaganda.
Ah.
I mean, that was the big thing. But they're also
Legend of Korra.
Yeah, we're really they did a lot right in there.
Let's just
They
do
really
Legend,
did.
guys. Let's just do Legend of Korra.
But I have two things along that. One, like post-war stuff. One, it could be war. It could be like, I don't know, we fought off Eldrazi. I don't know.
Sure.
Thank you. But like that some big thing happened that we needed all this equipment for. But like that stuff gets dispersed asymmetrically, I guess. Like I think of like the Philippines, for example. Like we got like a lot of canned goods out of that and not much else.
Ooh.
Like I ate Vienna sausage again recently. I only kind of like it now. Just like straight out of the can, I was like, this, I could see why I really liked it as a kid. But like, spam, processed sugar, etc. That things became like weird cultural artifacts in the Philippines that like were not from the Philippines, and also like wasn't any of the actual like good shit coming out of the war. Like it wasn't air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Air conditioning came very late.
Yeah.
It was the leftovers that were mass produced.
Yeah, I was like, it was leftovers. And there's a difference between like the people who get to benefit from the progression of technology, where that technology was developed, versus the
outskirts.
The dredges.
the occupied lands that had all the that had all the trash left there.
Yeah.
Well, then it also sounds a little bit like, so there was some event. I don't know if it was like a human versus human war or like a person versus person war. It sounds like it was something a little larger, more natural, more dire, more like sort of overwhelming.
Like I think what might be interesting was like it was the world against a thing.
Yeah.
For
and
one time, unification.
we were unified
And now
in
here we
this-
are on the other side of it, fractured again.
Yes.
It's a little bit like the USSR in that like like there's a central authority that was doing a good thing for everyone initially, but now that the big threat is over, they think that they're entitled to the central benefits of it, and the people on the outlying lands are like, but we were with you when you were protecting our lands, but now we don't need protection, we need what you have.
Yeah,
and
we
you
need
give it to us.
resources. Yeah.
And that's what like that thin veneer of trust kind of makes sense for, is like we're going to be cordial
because
with
we
each
used to
other.
trust each other, and now the trust is breaking.
Yeah. Or there's no reason to trust each other anymore.
Right.
It's kind
There's
of
no
part of
reason.
it.
was.
And we're in the
also-
middle of the trust breaking.
Yeah. And also,
Cool.
like, some people decided all of a sudden that, like, great, thank you so much, we're going to take our toys and go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we're like really at that turning point. We're
Very
really
cool.
at this precipice moment. I like that.
Yeah, when you said Nepo babies earlier, no, really, it made me think, because there could be that type of person that has actually been affected and it is coming out of them. But then there's the other piece of it, which are the people who are in power in this new society who just have access to all the things, right? Like, let's say it was coats that have a badge or a thing on them, like these military people walking around in these giant coats that just have spells all
it's
the way
Kill
from
a Kill.
shoulders to
It's
toe.
Kill a
it's
Kill.
Kill a Kill.
That's what it is.
It's Kill a Kill.
Right.
Or even there's a version of, I believe it's a version of Craftsman in Valda's that is all about mutaceous grafts, where you can graft stuff into your body.
Oh,
wow.
I think
Wearable tech.
that's the cyberpunk aspect
Wearable
of it,
tech.
where like
Or I mean, but also Full Metal Alchemist had automail, which is like diesel punk cyber
I would
prosthetics.
love to be able to like pull in some body modification, like hacking your own system.
Yeah.
This is not me saying I don't want to do this. I want to do this. I just want everyone to know, for their own enjoyment, like surgery, body stuff makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Okay.
But we should still do it.
In a fun way?
It'll be fun for everyone to listen to me squirm.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's hitting there.
Yeah.
The other thing too is just the idea of like, so then if it's more closer to like wearable tech, you can have like fashion designers,
Yeah.
Yes.
or like lines, like this is the Yves Saint Laurent green
that would be
flame blade line.
But that would be
or
really
whatever.
cool for a lot of the like magic class. Bard and wizard are the two that I'm thinking of, where like there is a lineage for certain magic that's like, oh, these houses, either they're like colleges in the way that we know them today, or they're like fashion houses.
Yeah.
Which
House
could be
of,
really interesting.
House of Eloquence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be really interesting because then, like, a lot of martial classes could have access to magic in a
Different way.
in really different
Like
way.
belts.
Well, or like, I mean, for the really martial classes, for like your paladins, your fighters, your wardens, another class from Valda's,
Barbarian.
like it means you want a bespoke weapon so that you have enough slots for all of the magic you want to pump into it. And so it might lead to a place where like everybody names their signature weapon.
Yeah.
Could be cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Everybody
I
has
love a
names for
signature
it.
move. You know that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, especially if they're able to modify their weapons. Like if there's body modification, we have to be able to modify our weapons.
Yeah.
There's in Final Fantasy VII, you get better swords which have more materia slots because you
Exactly.
start out with a base sword.
That
you
was
get
what I
2
was thinking
materia
also.
slots, and then you get like your glove with like 5 materia slots, and then you can do way more stuff.
Yeah, I think something like that would make a lot of sense. And it would give a really interesting flavor to clerics and warlocks in particular, because those are ones where
I was going to start asking about gods and stuff next.
like, I think that there's certainly a lot of room for religion here,
Yes.
but also in the sense of like, if this is post-war, like a lot of those values and ideals are, I'm thinking like American gods, like the new gods.
Yeah,
And like,
media.
Oh, I love an old gods versus new
Yeah,
gods
like,
conflict.
there's some,
Listen,
like-
you're gonna have to stop me from making an old gods versus new gods conflict.
Mischa, stop! You're doing
No,
it again.
I'm not.
Ah, damn.
I'm not mad at an old god versus new
Yeah.
god conflict.
Yeah.
I
But-
love that.
And
Yeah.
I think the new gods would be the people who are in power now.
yeah, the people
the
in power,
military
or
who's
even,
created the
like the ideal of like freedom, for example. Like that's why I like American gods is like there would probably be a god of like technology.
Yeah.
For sure.
In progression, that would be like have a strenuous relationship with like the god of the forge, for instance. Like they
Yeah.
are very intertwined, but would have very different roles and domains in society now.
Yeah.
And like you're right, opinions. Then one would be stuck in the past, and one would be all about moving forward.
And whatever conflict there was, like there was probably a god who liked that it was happening.
Yeah.
And
A god of chaos.
and that the
Profited.
people won.
Yeah.
Like
Kind
that-
of bummed him out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's, and
Yeah.
also if there's like, still the traditional religions, it's like, stop buying all this shit. You can have magic the old fashioned way if you just come to this church and pray.
Grind up this powder for an hour.
Yeah.
People will wait for something
And they'll be
good.
like, that seems too slow and boring. It's like, nah, it's great. It's pure. It's great.
Yeah, so this does sound honestly, but it sounds like we're creating like more of a secular world where like devout followers of a religion are sort of the minority.
Old fashioned and
Yeah.
like, it's like that kid that's got a weird haircut and holds a
Yeah.
book in a weird way, and you're like, are your parents okay?
Almost like the worshippers of the new gods are just way more chill.
They're cool
Yeah.
and chill. Yeah.
I'm just thinking youth pastor energy. you
very
know?
much. Yeah, sitting in the backwards chair,
Yeah.
playing guitar.
I went to when I was in high school, I went to my other friend's youth group once, which was at a very new agey, like quasi mega church. And and I was like, I can't be here.
Yeah.
It was when the youth pastor compared Jesus to both Goku and the Terminator.
no.
Oh my god.
No.
And then I was like, I need to leave.
No, that's too cool.
Goku died for your sins, but you can bring him back with all 7 Dragon Balls.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, and it's like
Too current.
it literally was like a weirder Holy Trinity of like Goku, the Terminator, and Jesus, and the commonality was I'll be back.
I would go to
Like,
that church. I'm just saying
I
right
wouldn't.
now.
Goku's a
So
horrible
funny.
dad.
I'll be back.
Yeah, that was the 3 line.
That's crazy.
Anyway, that's
Holy shit.
That's That's crazy. That's bananas.
No, but seriously, what's the number of that youth pastor? I
I just want to talk.
I want to buy what you're selling.
Yeah.
If my Bible had Goku on it, I would hold that shit.
I would have been really into Bible.
Yeah.
I do love conflicting gods.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
love conflicting gods.
Yeah, I love that too.
Gods with a point of view,
Yeah.
gods that are
Yes.
not omni.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yeah.
I think that one that still holds true to like D&D as a system, that like domains are still very important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that there could be some interesting flavor of like, oh, like a patron could be a literal, still a human patron,
Yeah.
but is the representative of some ideal. And that could be
Yeah.
like corporate, it could be military, it could be any other ideal, but it could still be represented by like a mortal being that is the stand-in for
The Apple logo shakes
Yeah.
violently.
That's pretty
Okay,
funny.
but think about it. If you had told someone that you were going to have a giant conglomerate that controls everything and their logo is literally an
The
apple
apple
with
that
a
has a
white
bite
taken
out
out
of
of
it.
it, you'd think
Well,
that no one would buy that.
Yeah,
Well-
that'd be heavy-handed.
But I've also been watching Loki,
Yeah.
and Miss Minutes is that. It's just like, she starts out very much as like a little computer helper and a friend, and then it turns out she's crazy. And like really has a perspective of her own that like influences events.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
And I think there's a lot of room to play in that, and it could be like a piece of technology is representative of something, or like
Yeah.
like a chain of franchises could be representative
Yes.
of something.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued by the idea, and it could go either way, of whether the old gods are in opposition to all this new technology and this way of doing magic,
Yeah.
or if it's how they are getting their influence into the world.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
Maybe it's both.
I think it could be both. I think it doesn't necessarily. I think putting old gods versus new gods creates such a black and white conflict. I think that some old gods can have good opinions about new gods,
Yeah.
and they can try to
Yeah.
work
like
with
some
each
of them get
like,
along.
They're not
think each-
threatened by them.
I think each one has a personal relationship with the people around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like having a baby sister where you're like, I see what you're going for. I don't know if
It's like
it's a great idea.
I'll be here to help you.
Yeah, it's like come to me if you have questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
But-
when that fails, I can help.
yeah.
But until then,
call your big sis. We'll figure it out.
you're
Same
doing
thing.
great.
It's like I crashed the car. You're like, okay, all right, okay.
I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
So I'm going to come back to our world setting questions
Yes,
a little bit.
that's fine.
So what scope do we in our game want to focus on? Are we all in like the capital city and we're working on that?
I
Are
think
we
so.
traveling?
I like the capital city.
Capital
City?
would probably be a good.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I feel like if we need to travel within that story, that can happen
Yeah.
down the line. But like we can start for sure in the capital.
Or if there's like an undercity or like a
Ooh.
neighboring manufacturing city.
I want flying
Undercity's
city.
so
I want like I want an above city.
I love that. A
Yeah.
sky city, and then it's like
Like Battle Angel Alita, where there's like the
Yeah.
hovering
Yeah.
rich people part, and then
Yeah.
there's poor people on the ground.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
Well, I was actually
like
thinking-
League of Legends, like
Yeah.
Piltover.
Piltover's
Yes.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on.
Piltover's on.
I don't know
I've
League of
never
Legends, but I
played-
do know Arcane.
Yeah.
I've
That's
played it.
enough.
Someone has
I
explained it to
unfortunately
me.
know both.
Nerd.
Oh my god!
Well, I
it's
was
so
also
funny.
thinking of the new Zelda
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Where there's the sky, the
Tears of
depths, and the
Kingdom.
and
land.
all
Mhm.
three.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
So my question about this scope is that like anywhere we set it, it's gonna have sub-layers.
Yes.
So like if we're in a city, there are different neighborhoods.
Yes.
If we're in a country, there are different city states and towns. If we're in a galaxy, there are different star systems.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
And that's going to be our next segment, so I don't want to get too ahead of me, but like yes, we can set it anywhere and then subdivide within that as
Yeah.
we like.
I like a capital city because
Yeah.
I think like it can keep the scope. Like we can go to all these different neighborhoods. I like it because I think it'll keep the story more contained to. I'm sure there's going to be many nefarious forces that you can have within a zip code.
Yeah.
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 I like how all of us like side-eyed our environment while we did that.
Well,
We're just like,
I think doing one city, sort of creates a jelly-like boundary where like
Yeah.
it binds us in as much as we want, but it's
Yeah.
still permeable enough that you can go outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love when a location is a character.
Absolutely. Like Sex in the City.
so true.
Jesus.
That city really is the fifth
so
character.
true.
I was
bestie.
thinking Gossip Girl.
It creates obstacles,
Can we have an
but it
XOXO
also
trainee?
creates stories.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
You never know who you're going to run into.
Wait.
True.
Sorry. Let's just do a Sex in the City game.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
There we go.
So Ian, you're Carrie.
I'm the Samantha.
Amazing. I want to do one more thing from these questions, and I think we're about ready to move on. This is cool. This is a cool place.
This is very cool.
I want to throw back to what are some unique challenges the society faced. Now, we've talked about the challenges that the society previously faced.
That is a unique challenge.
Yes, but I want one thing that sort of everyone knows about that like is there and they have to deal with.
The upcoming election.
Well, it could be the upcoming election.
Yeah.
It could be like it depends on how real world we want to get. It could be the rise of a new political party. It could be that like whatever had to be done to end the travails of the past like left the dimensional borders a little permeable and the government's like, no, we solved it, but like occasionally a spirit will come through and you have to deal with it.
I like that.
Yeah, like that it's like everything's chill, we're cool, we're past it. And it's like, I don't know, what if it comes back?
We won at a cost.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's no way it'll come back. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I could come back. It came once.
Yeah. And obviously it got through once.
Yeah, how'd it get through?
We're not talking about how it got through.
How did it show
Rim.
up here? Oh, yeah. Yeah, how did it get here in the first place?
And it's like, we have the Band-Aid solution, but like the actual problem might not have actually been solved.
Yes.
I think that might be interesting.
I wanted to bring Pacific Rim as a vibe, and then I second guessed myself.
Don't second guess
we're
yourself.
GIF compatible.
So the barriers are thin. Is it that the barriers themselves are thin and that's what people are dealing with? It's that monsters are attacking the city and the government doesn't want to deal with it. Like what is actually the day-to-day challenge?
Could it be that like the line has been thinned enough that there are smaller threats still coming in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actively.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, this is fine. We'll just have exterminators.
Yeah.
We'll pay people to kill it. It's
Rather
fine.
than like Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Band-Aids.
Well,
exactly.
and that's also great because one of the things we did have to figure out is like D&D is a war game. We're gonna have to have combat if we're running the system. So like that's a good way to generate random encounters.
And that can also be good because then it's like the monsters are starting smaller and then like bigger ones start seeping in.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, oh, when a bigger one seeps in, maybe it's like, hey, we gotta sweep this under the rug. Like nobody can know that this bigger one came through.
Yeah.
And there are also forces that could be taking advantage of like the lighter chaos or people's needs not being met. That's like, hey, this is environmental racism. That's what I'm going for. It's like some people are probably going to be more affected by like the lack of infrastructure.
Yeah,
I'm really saying this. I'm like,
especially if we have these levels of this world, we can really like differentiate them in terms of the poverty.
Like in the same way that like Zon in League of Legends is
all
like it's
polluted.
It's all polluted. It's causing more trouble, and like that people are going to respond. They're going to take care of themselves in the way that they feel is necessary.
Yeah. They'll adapt, but they'll adapt in a way that's maladaptive.
The way what I'm sort of thinking of right now is like the upper city. The whatever is propulsion to keep them up is beating down on the people on the surface.
Yeah.
And whatever the people on the surface have to keep themselves functioning is polluting the people beneath.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If we're powering magic via crystals and orbs, what if the underside of it has giant crystals that are constantly shining light and the light pollution is driving people a little mad?
Yes. I love that.
I think that's really interesting in terms of like, this is more like flipping tropes on its head a little bit. Might be a little granular, but like the city that's always light is actually the one that is suffering the most.
Absolutely.
Like that it's the light pollution from the city above that still has weather the way that weather normally happens, but because people are living underneath it,
like directly underneath it, they don't get rain.
But
their
it's not
circadian rhythms are fucked.
That's the big one for me. There's too much light. People don't get enough sleep. People like are constantly more stressed out,
beaten down.
Meanwhile, people in the upper city have access to an open sky, which like allows for like larger dreams and schemes.
And not to be political, but that's fucked up.
Fuck up, yo. We gotta do something about
You're
that.
fucked
You
up.
know what? You're right, and you should say it.
I'm glad I said something.
love
we were
this.
talking about monsters coming in. Just backtrack just a hair.
Yeah.
It could be interdimensional or like they're coming in. It could also be falling down from debris, right? Like it's like also if it's a flying city, that makes me think that the conflict was probably above it, possibly, right? And so there could just be, it's like the war's over, but there's still, I don't know what it is, fragments of ships or fragments of stuff that come down to Earth every once in a while, and there's still some stuff that's alive.
I love that. I have a secret GM idea about that I'm not going to tell you guys.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love it.
Perfect.
Hey there, it's Mischa. This is the rest stop. Come take a break beside the path with me, just until we catch our breath. Thank you for hopping on for our inaugural world building episodes. It's a joy and an honor to have you with us as we embark on this new project. I think we're cooking up something special here, and I'm excited and eager to share it with the world. So I hope you're having fun getting to know us and the world we're making a little bit, and that they get you jazzed to dive in. Join us, please. If you like what you're hearing and you want to help us out, please spread the word about us. We want as many people as possible to hear what we're making, and word of mouth is honestly the only tried and true method of growing a new show. You can find us most places you find podcasts, and we also have links at our website, wanderingpathpod.com. Okay, that's it for now. Let's get back on the path and back to the show. So now that we have a pretty solid basis for the kinds of world we want to tell our story in, let's move on to our next segment where we're going to play a little world building game, which I have titled, I'm sorry, did you say world building? A straight up hack of several games, but mostly street magic by Kara Assertion.
Yeah.
Mischa, will you put in some game show music right there after you did that? No, I mean, yeah, that too.
Okay, that has to be the base of whatever you put in.
You can just sound design over that, right?
Yeah. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to take turns around the table here and start defining locations and details within our city. We'll start with some adjectives to start with, and we'll lay in some regions of our city, and then in later rounds, we can also lay in some landmarks and some residents. I'll also start introducing events, which change something about the details y'all are laying in, but that's a little later on. For round one, I would love if, based on our discussion and this city/world that we've made, if everybody would throw down one adjective that they want to describe this city with.
I just want it for the record that I thought you were going to say everyone throw down a die.
No, we're not rolling dice today.
I know.
This is the one where
bring
we're
any.
rolling dice.
Because I brought my
Do
dice.
you want some? I have a giant cabinet full of fucking dice.
I will peruse the offerings.
I mean,
No, it's fine.
We could roll initiative.
do you want to roll initiative for the adjectives?
Yeah,
I
let's do it.
do.
Okay, hold on. I have to go get Mayanna a die. Hold on.
Okay.
I knew if I squeaky wheeled it, I would get some dice.
Well, so we're all going to roll initiative to see who lays down an adjective first.
The power of asking.
I've got my...
Oh,
Did you just
that's
nat
a
20?
Nat 20
You
on the
nat
big
20 the
die.
big die.
First roll of the show, nat 20.
10. Solid mid.
15.
Nice.
Wait, we're doing 5. Okay, you gotta roll.
Ian,
a 5.
pressure's on.
I know.
Pressure's
Well,
on.
so Mayanna nat 20 the big die, so I'm now switching die. I'm pulling out my tiny die.
Yay.
Here we go.
I love
It's
a
going to
tiny
be a
die.
nat 20 or nat 1
Let's go.
Here we go.
or a 13.
Hey, these are good numbers.
Oh, wait, I lied. It's an 18. Fuck yeah!
Okay, Mayanna, you're first.
Gay. Just kidding.
It's gonna okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna. Let's just throw. It's gonna be.
I know.
gay.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
why
sorry.
I didn't
Wait,
even
wait,
need
wait.
to say it.
If you're going to say that, you have to say it all in sync. It's gonna
gonna
be
be
gay.
Incredible.
My adjective is vibrant.
Ooh. Ian, you're up next.
My adjective is towering.
Yeah.
My adjective is breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun. I mean, that's the last time I'm going to do that, I promise.
I think musical.
Ooh. I love musical.
Curveball.
These are great. This is very cool. So that's round one. We're going to move on to round two, where everybody is going to make a region of the city. Each region has a name, some vibes or snapshots to get us started, and a reputation from both inside and outside. What people who live there think about it and what people who don't live there think about it. You can feel free to collaborate with everyone at the table, take ideas, but whoever's turn it is to place the region has final say on what it is.
So are we each doing a full region is what you're telling
You're
me?
each going to do a full region.
Copy that.
So, does anyone have any strong ideas to start?
Ooh.
Feels like we should roll for initiative.
You want to
We
roll
already
for initiative?
rolled.
I'm just saying. I mean,
The initiative order remains the same. Have you played Dungeons and It doesn't change every round.
Not a ton.
I would love the fun, not casino district, but the entertainment district. Kind of I'm thinking Akihabara, where it's games, pachinko, fast food, lights on, colors, people in
Yeah.
gothic Lolita costumes, the
Sure.
fun, goofy part where
Just like nightlife in general.
yeah, the nightlife where people go and hang and play arcade games.
My
and,
brain went to like an open air night market.
Yeah, an open air night market vibe. And that's where the karaoke bars are. That's where like people go to chill and eat giant sundaes that are as big as their head and take pictures of them. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do people live there?
People do live there, unfortunately.
What is the reputation from the inhabitants themselves?
Ooh, I think it's like Anaheim, California, where they just want to like chill. But that's also where I guess maybe like some of the more affordable housing is, and the trade-off is it's awful and loud, and people come to visit. And they come to have fun, but the people who live there deal with like the trash left over every night and the like screaming drunk college kids who are there like having fun and like they just finished finals.
I love that.
Or it's like the residents don't get to benefit from the fun.
But that sort of also like belies the reputation from without, which is like, what a great place to party.
My God, so much fun. Yeah, so I guess the people who live there are probably the employees of the establishments that people go to frequent there.
Or anybody who needs cheap housing.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
exactly.
the cheap housing is.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a cheap housing and then the people who have to be waitresses and cleaners and whatever for these establishments.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like college students, like broke college students who live there. People are like, oh my God, you live in that district?
That's so cool.
And they're like, it's hell.
Yeah.
I
hate it there.
hell.
Yeah, I can't afford to move.
I live in a shoebox.
I live in a shoebox. I can't get any sleep.
On the plus side, I don't have to buy a lamp
Yeah.
because it's lit all
All the
night.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I can study whenever I need, which is always.
That's great.
And the food is great.
The
You know,
food's great. Yeah, you can, and like at the end of the night, there's always like extra food.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
probably
people are, like,
the route to get the free food.
Exactly, yeah,
That's
you
all the
frequent-
leftovers.
yeah.
It's really
you
good
got
for
the
the people
spots.
who live there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know the people to let you in the cool, like not the cool spot, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the local spot.
I remember when I worked at a coffee shop, we had the day old pastries,
Yeah.
and whatever was left over, we got to eat for free.
Yeah.
So it was always like I was banking on a day old pastry, so I didn't have to pay for breakfast.
Exactly.
I remember when I used to work at Jamba Juice, I used to steal extra pastries because
Yes.
they'd only give you one free smoothie
Yeah.
a day.
I had a roommate who was a manager at Panera. It's so good.
Yeah.
So I imagine that this is in the lower city then.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like anyone from the upper city would go for funsies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then
But
track
then they
it.
go home.
And then they go
yeah,
home.
then they go home. It's like
New Orleans, yeah.
French
Yeah,
Quarter.
when I went
Yeah.
to college, there was like a little student shuttle that would take you exclusively to like Senor Frogs. I went to Miami, and then take you home. And I can't imagine what they're like. Look at the little kiddie bus dropping off the little kids to drink underage, and then going, time to go home,
my
back to
God.
your dorm.
Imagine the flying shuttles
Dude,
required.
Oh,
and they have like balloons and shit.
Amazing. That's great. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Regions.
Wait, sorry. Everyone just close your eyes for a second.
Okay.
And I want you to all imagine to yourself what the CEO of Senior Frogs looks like. Now we can move forward. I just wanted everyone to see that.
And that is
'Cause
now
that's
going
a
to be,
person.
that better be a character.
That's a person.
It's definitely a man.
No,
100% it's a man.
big
It's
man.
a frog.
It's a frog.
Dark pinstripe suit, purple tie, double chin, and when he gets really mad, it does bulge out.
The frogs from
I was
Kipo.
going to say the frogs from Kipo, but also the frogs in Flushed Away.
Yeah, flushed away. I love flushed
There's a
away.
vibe we're putting into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flushed
Meet the
away.
Robinsons frogs.
Oh, the jazz singing
Frankie.
frogs. Frankie, and they put people in trunks. I forgot to name my region, so I'm going to pitch the Bara district.
Oh, nice.
And from what I remember, because I named an OC after this, it's the Japanese word for rose. But every rose has its thorn.
No.
Yeah.
Boo.
I know.
But I'll double check to make sure I'm not miseducating
That's right.
the people in this room.
Thanks. Okay, who's next to name a region?
I think it's me.
Okay, Ian,
Hell
hit
yeah.
us.
The engineering core.
Nice.
Ooh.
I don't know where this, like whether it's high, low, what it is, but I think there's something powering the city, and it's in my mind. I think it's underground or deep in the center.
Yeah.
Vibe. I think it's like very cavernous, very rocky cave surrounding like big machinery or giant crystalline structures.
Yeah.
So do people do people live there? Do like the workers live there?
I don't know if they live there.
They
So it's more like
commute.
a warehouse district of a city.
Or more like
Is this like a nuclear power plant vibe?
Yeah, like the bowels of the Titanic, or you know what I mean, like inside the factory.
Yes. So
But maybe people work there so much that they basically live there.
So here's my question. We're starting with regions. The further we go in this game, you're going to be able to name landmarks and residents of regions.
Cool.
So I'm asking, is this a landmark? Is this a building that exists within a region of the city, or is it a region of the city?
No, it's a region. It's massive. I think it's absolutely massive.
Okay, so if it's so big, I do imagine that they might have
like
company
bunkers.
housing.
Yeah, company
Oh yeah,
housing.
barracks
Military
Yeah.
barracks.
Or
Yeah.
at the very least, like the on-call room, right, where you can just go sleep in between shifts.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like
The hot racks.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hot
exactly.
racks. Yeah, it's like in like Arrival where they're living there, or like Oppenheimer where they built
Yes.
a city around
Yeah.
the thing.
Yes, exactly.
What Bex just said, like military barracks, it could be repurposed barracks.
Yes.
From the war.
If this city that's floating
Yeah.
was built for whatever threat was happening, then yeah, it would be similar to that they would have built all of the technology to make the city float.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have essentially been military barracks as well. And now that the military-esque thing is no longer there, they still need people to maintain it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like all repurposed barracks, and it might be way bigger than it needs to be. So it's
Yeah.
a little bit scarier and more labyrinthine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just made me realize the thing that I'm pulling from, which is silo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. How do people who spend the majority of their time there feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's a tough place. They feel like it's a tough place. It's a dirty, like everyone. You don't shower a lot down there because that's not what's important.
Oh, it's
Right.
like the coal mines almost.
Right, exactly. And how do are they happy to be there? I wonder.
Or do they feel like it's like valor?
Right, it's like a calling.
Valorous?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a calling.
Yeah.
So they feel pride that they feel proud that this is their home.
Yeah, it's like, and we are the people who do this difficult thing.
What do people outside of this district think of it?
I don't think they go there. I think normal people don't go to the inside of the
Like,
nuclear
So,
avoid
so
all
the
costs.
reputation is that it's inhospitable.
Ooh.
yeah,
would you say?
Yeah, and also that it's a place of like work.
Yeah.
right?
Why would you go there if you don't have to?
Not for people.
I have
Not
a
for
thought
people.
too off of the
Not
Valor
for
thing where
people.
it's like, what's the matter? You're not tough enough to handle going to the silo with the boys?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the Marines,
I
that
guess you
toxicity.
can't handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
But so then now that we're saying that, assuredly there are like teens who are like, oh, we're gonna sneak down to
Yeah.
the right. Like I found a valve entrance. We can get into the.
Yeah.
It
the
really is just like
engineering
old coal
core.
mines.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
the matter? You
Where
scared?
most people are like, why? One, it's like the neutral. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you go there? I have no reason to be there. People who are like, I'm going to be responsible. It's like, that place is dangerous
Yeah.
and important, and
And
you
the
don't
adventure
want to mess with
junkies.
it.
Well, and
Yeah.
also I don't think you can like if it's
I
the
think it's
thing that's
restricted.
powering the city, it's
Yeah.
super restricted.
You
like,
shouldn't
right,
be
like-
able to sneak in, but people try, and it's like a badge of honor if you can.
Ooh,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god, maybe there's, because we were talking about badges you can make with magic,
Oh.
maybe there's like an actual thing.
A security spell
Oh,
Security.
where you make a crystal and there's a ward across the thing, and if you have the right crystal, it lets you through the ward.
oh my
Easy.
god!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can steal one. To sneak in.
Like for a heist or something,
Yeah.
like for some kind of arc in our
some
game
kind
or
of
something.
cool thing that we do, maybe. Could you imagine a world?
Where we steal?
Len!
That's never happened in D&D.
Yeah.
Never.
Picture a world where things happen.
Whoa. It's not as if there's an entire D&D class
Submitted
that
for your
is
appro-
designed for infiltration.
Submitted for your approval. Stuff happening.
Oh my god, name for the podcast.
Stuff happening.
I love it.
And then for season 2, it'll be stuff happening too. The stuff happening.
Stuff too happening.
Stuff happened, and the happening is happened.
Stuff happened with a 3.
Yeah.
As the E.
Stuff happened back in the habit.
Print it, ship it, sell it to kids. Bex or Lynn, do you have a region?
I do. I want to pitch the Constellation. That is its
Okay.
name.
Oh.
Constellation.
The reputation from those outside of it is it's lavish and unattainable.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so this is definitely in the upper city.
Yeah, this is the
Manhattan.
upper city. Like the reason it's called the constellation is because it looks like stars from underneath,
Okay. Yeah, I love
Like-
that.
Oh, right, because of all the things under the wow.
and they get to see the stars, but they are the stars for the people beneath.
For
them.
other people.
clever,
That
clever.
chills.
You see them, and they are your stars now.
That's really
yes,
cool. Instead of a sky rise, it goes like into the sky and below the plane of the upper city. So like its basement
Yeah.
Yeah.
is still visible from the ground.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, so like the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
reason.
Amazing.
So if just a thought experiment, if everyone in this world is now on this thing, what is on the ground below?
yeah, I think like that's where as many people as they could get off the ground.
They did.
They did. So now they're in the sky. So it's like what else is on the ground? Yeah, like debris from the war and presumably civilians who didn't make the cut or
Yeah.
didn't get on.
Yeah.
It's like the axiom in Wall-E, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like we think we got everybody.
I mean, you have to imagine like the purpose of this thing. If there's the engineering core was what was powering it during the war, and now it's doing now it's being repurposed for some new task, then there's a chance that this was like the battle fortress by which they ran the war.
Yeah.
And now, like, because it was made for the king and the king's advisors and the heads of the military to live in perpetually until the war is done.
Yeah.
That's why it's so luxurious.
Luxurious, yeah.
And so, like, people who could afford be like, oh, well, now ordinary people can live there. Well, I have enough money to live there. I'm going to go live there.
Yeah,
and people
yeah.
who don't just don't get to go.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
get to go and they stay on and they
On the grounds.
make little towns and
Yeah.
It used to
Yeah.
be a necessity for the wealthy, and now it's just luxury for the wealthy.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Or the middle class who
Yeah.
Yeah.
can
So
afford
to come back
join it.
to Bex's round here, then the reputation from within it is like, this is the place to be. And from without it, I feel like there's two versions of it. There's one that's like, I'm going to live my entire life for a hope of getting there.
Yeah.
Or sour grapes, which is
Ooh,
like,
yeah, it's probably not that great.
it's probably not that great anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably overblown. Oh my God. And also it's like, well, stars are technically dead. So it's like, if it's a constellation, it's probably not even that great.
And I feel like they still have to come down to the
Constellations aren't
surface
real.
level
Yes.
for things. So
Yes.
it's like it's inconvenient.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's fully like, I don't think you can farm up there. You like they
No,
need
you can't
food.
farm. It's just, it's all like,
you have to come down for
Literal-
I
everything.
guess you can have vertical farms.
Yeah.
you
Well,
can
and I
have
was-
vertical farms. Yeah.
And that's the question of how powerful this sort of like magic technology is. Because when we were thinking about scarce resources, I was wondering if they had a bunch of technology but not a bunch of food, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
But then again, maybe those little things you can pop them and then there's like a meal, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, create
Good
food
berry.
and water is
Good
a
berry.
spell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you
Good
go.
berries.
But it's like,
But
how
it-
good could it be
And,
versus
and do you have relying exclusively on that
Yes.
versus natural processes?
Soylent Green?
Is
And how that can cause such a problem for like the wealthy people who are like, oh, we can just buy the spells to have whatever food we need.
Yeah.
And that runs out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If that is
Or-
a finite resource.
Or it's like, well, it's the food that you can imagine, but it's like if you are there for long enough, you can only conceive of your conception of an idea
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, square? And you're like, yeah, I guess that's food. And it's like, have you
Nutritionally-
had an apple?
no.
Try
No,
an apple.
But I've had a
one bite.
nutritional square.
yeah, I have my cube.
It sounds
it
like
gives me all the nutrients I need.
It sounds like such a more interesting, watchable version of Elysium.
Oh, I
That's
haven't
exactly
seen
what I was
Elysium.
thinking.
Yeah, I'll have to
That
check
was
this out.
that was my
Yeah.
It's all
my
right.
initial thought was Elysium, and I was like, that's too on the nose. Let's
Casual
go with
drive around
Constellation.
I love that though. That's really cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Lynn?
This one's, I don't know if this can be defined as a region, so we can
Okay.
hold on this. But kind of because we mentioned college students earlier,
Yeah.
like collegiate leagues. Like, is there like the Ivy League? Like, I'm just thinking like the college system
Yes.
as a whole, where like maybe it's multiple. There's
Sure.
like the equivalent of Ivy versus
Yeah, it's
like
like
public.
Boston, where there's just this weird collection of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best schools, some random middle schools,
Ivy
some-
Leagues, Little Ivy.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
remember the tiny art school that's across from Harvard that
Yes.
nobody has ever heard of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like my partner went to Brown and then there's RISD,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is the art school, which is where the Avatar guys went.
Just bring that back.
Legend. Winky dink.
Well, there's also like Bard colleges and everything. Like,
Yeah,
you can
I
get really into this.
I think that I want specifically a ground surface college town.
Like the academic
Yeah,
region.
but it could also be like, it could be sports, it could be whatever, but like I want the college town that's on the surface.
Okay, here's a pitch, actually.
Mm-hmm.
During the war, there had to be people drafted.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that became entrenched in the society as a coming of age ritual, being drafted.
Yeah.
And the society still sort of realizes that there's a need for young people to come into their own.
Yeah.
So there's a district of the city called the Come Up,
Oh, the
I like
where
that.
there's dormitory housing, and like it's where people who move out of their parents' house live. And there are a bunch of schools there.
Halfway district.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
halfway district.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
I think that's super interesting. I also think that like they still need like capable people on the ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the people in the floating city are like, those people aren't actually that important. Whereas the people down on the earth are like, no, this is extremely important.
Essential
I'm still,
workers.
yeah, like not just essential workers, but like still engineers. It's like the differences between like,
It's like not nearly enough people are going to trade school.
yeah,
in
not
2023.
exactly. It's similar to that level where it's like, oh, like, you know, all this STEM education, but no one's actually like wanting to be the person that
Everybody
does
wants to be an
electrical
engineer.
stuff.
No one wants to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, everybody in the constellation is like, yeah, obviously you want to go to school and have the best job.
Yeah, and I
but
think-
they're so removed that they don't see how the lack of tradespeople is affecting them.
That's what I
Yeah.
think that the inside point of view is that there's kind of a split difference between the population. There are people who are like, I'm on the come up, I'm going up. And it's like, I'm on the come up, I'm staying here.
Yeah.
And like that the place itself has room for both of those intentions,
Yeah.
but that there can be, no matter what, there's a sense of pride in what you're doing. And it's actually like weirdly really competitive within it.
I also think that there's like, if their training facilities are there and the point is to get people into jobs, like union halls also probably live here.
Yeah.
There feels something. Yeah, there's something so stratified about it. To me, it's like people who you're at that school or in that union, and everyone's wearing the same blue coat, right?
Yeah.
And if it's a college town, if it's like all these buildings are around, they're all the groups are very identifiable, but they're all around each other.
And it's a gateway to stuff, but it's also a bottleneck to stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also it's like this weird uniformity with the promise eventually of individualism
right.
on the constellation if you get there.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you're just like one of many who could potentially get there.
Yeah, because again, we're coming out of a war, right? I mean, that stuff
Like everyone's
gets,
so hopeful.
and that
Yes.
stuff gets very factory-fied
Yes.
to create, it's like you're going to go to this school and learn this trade so you can
Yeah.
Like, I think that people can still choose their trade. That's
can.
part of the idealism of like everyone was unified for this thing. We
Yeah.
all get to like make the decisions to find where we are best suited for the greater good.
Yeah.
You can choose your track, everything like that. But like, I think there is a really big expectation of like, if you choose this, you're dedicated to it.
Yeah, you're committing your life to it. And it's like, the thought that I'm having is like, instead of for the greater good, it's for like the greatest good. It's like whatever that idea is. And it's like, that's not a thing. That doesn't exist.
Well, and I love this too, because Lynn, we talked before the recording about like sort of like devotion to the people who sent you there and like what do you owe to the people who like enabled your life.
Like, what is the difference between devotion and obligation?
Yeah.
I think like both of
Absolutely.
these areas would have very different ideas of what devotion and obligation look like and mean.
Yeah.
But they're both centered on this and sort of like people crossing in opposite directions about it. But the cross is where this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the collectivism versus individualism debate of like, are you contributing to the bigger system of value? And it's like, well, what if I don't care about that?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make me a bad person.
No, but you
Yeah.
probably are a little bit of an outcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that is also what makes the outside threat really interesting because it's so clearly a threat to both of those ideals.
Yes, and collectivism saved us.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
we had to all stand together because if you're not with us, like, you could die.
Yeah.
We could die.
And an interesting inside-out perspective that
Yes.
I'm so into this is that like there are people who are like, no, that collectivism was fake.
Yeah.
Like it was a strenuous collectivism. It
Yes.
was not actually based on like a real valuing
Yes.
of like people, ideals, culture, society, etc.
Yes.
It was like, no, it wasn't collectivism. It was
Fear, kind of.
fear, but it was, what's the word that I'm thinking of?
Homogeny?
Yes.
Ooh.
It was homogeny.
Yeah.
Which is
love that
exactly what I'm thinking about. If most people in this world only hang out with people who are wearing their same color coat, for a bad metaphor,
Yeah.
that's could be what's interesting about like our group, right? Is
Yeah.
it's like we're not necessarily all
From the same.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode. After we build some more of the city, we'll be figuring out who you guys are and what the party is.
Yes.
But this is all just to sort of create places where you guys could be coming from.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's dope. That's
You're
fresh
dope.
as hell.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're fresh as hell.
Thanks. Thanks.
Show
Hey,
name fresh as hell.
thanks. Cool. So that was round 2 of this little game. For the remaining rounds, so we'll do one more round in this episode and then continue into the next episode, I think. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to set a compass for the round, which is just like a word or idea or concept that we're all going to focus ideas through.
Sure.
We're going to go around. Everybody can make either a new region of the city. You can make a landmark within a region, but it has to be within a specific region.
Got it.
Or you can make a resident. Residents are associated with a specific landmark. For example, if a landmark is like the corner store in the engineering district where like people get their parts and supplies, there's a resident who's like the guy who works in the back that's kind of curmudgeon-y. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I see.
Bodega cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Bodega cat.
That was Lynn, not me.
The one I was,
just said it louder.
thinking of is definitely Teo from the Spider-Man
Yeah.
video game.
Yes. And Spider-Man the cat.
Yes, and Spider-Man the cat. See, a resident, Spider-Man the cat associated with the corner store.
Yeah.
So that's how this is going to work. For our compass for this first round, I think I want to try towering, which was one of our adjectives from round 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to create new parts of the city through the lens of towering.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Feels like we should roll more dice to see who goes
I
first.
love that. Let's do it.
And you can roll as many dice as you want. It might not mean anything.
11.
15.
Nat 20.
9. Hey, look at you guys. I see.
10.
So when you said let's roll dice about it, did you want to go last or?
You know, it wasn't what was in my head, but it's what the dice have showed me.
Wow.
what the
Dice
dice
tell a
us.
story. Okay, Lynn, you're
Pay
first.
tribute to the dice or pay the price.
Towering. I'd like a landmark,
Yeah.
which would be similar to an elevator.
Okay. Yes.
Like that is both symbolic of the come up.
hmm
I think that there's a difference between the elevator. Maybe part of it is that their elevator passes. There's the one-way ticket, which means you made it. And then there's the commuter badge, which different people have different points of pride around it.
Yeah.
But it's obviously not a literal elevator because that would be hell for physics, even in a magical world. But I think it is like some kind of like floating platform beam thing that like is a light, like a beam of light that like shows the tether between the surface and
Sure.
the floating city.
It's like a hard light monorail.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
A specific spell, perhaps?
Yeah, but it's like, but that they're like floating carriages or whatever that will
Gorgeous.
take people to and from. There's like probably a personal badge that shows like one way versus commuter.
Yeah.
And then, or like, you know, other things that are like, I work on both ends because I'm very important and I have to see both sides
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
what have you. Or I have like a one-way ticket
Well-
for a job thing.
Well, maybe like a commuter badge requires a sponsor,
yeah.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
rich people no problem finding
Yeah.
a sponsor. They can get them easily. But
Mhm.
if you're on the ground, you really need like an employer that specifically provides
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's brutal. Because
Yeah.
it's like it's probably really difficult to communicate with the upper city unless you have a go-between who presumably is in the pocket of the upper
Yeah.
city who
Or
may
you
not.
have access to the magic that can.
Exactly.
that
Yes.
can
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that it's hyper visible. I think that
Yeah.
it literally looks like a beam of ascension that, like, for some people is a beacon of hope, and for some people is like a beacon of like, I will never get there.
Yeah.
I'm sure the language around it from people really reflects how they feel about
Yeah.
it. Like,
Mhm.
some people call it what it's called, and other people have nicknames
Have
for
different
it.
names for it. And I think
Mm.
that, yeah, like it is a towering presence because it's from the ground, it is the tallest thing that you can see before you hit the upper city. Is like, that's the fucking beam of light.
Yeah.
That there it is. You can always see it from every angle in the
That's
city.
the rapture.
Yep, that's the rapture.
Sorry.
But like
Come on, you're the other Jew on this podcast.
I know.
You with
I'm
me.
Jewish.
Are you Jewish too?
Yeah, I'm Jewish.
That's right, majority Jew.
We have the
I'm
majority.
Jewish.
No, you're not.
I was doing Spartacus bit.
We have the majority.
Incredible.
Wow.
A quorum. Let's go.
But yeah, I think that is
So funny.
that is the towering landmark.
Cool. Very cool. I love that. Then yeah, that's a landmark. Who is next? Mayanna?
I rolled
think you're next?
15.
Yeah,
Okay.
15's next.
I want a statue of a goddess that represents the Bara party region.
Okay.
And not the, like it's a beautiful woman, and it's a garishly large statue, and it's like the first thing you see when you go to the region. It's like the protector of
Sure.
the party
Her
region.
toes are hella shiny because
is
people
she
rub them for luck.
Yes,
Is she a party
yes.
goddess?
I think so. I think she's the goddess of partying. And everyone loves her. She's super fun.
Hell yeah.
But party's got to end sometime.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And you get a hangover, and that's punishment.
Yeah. I think it's the mantra of you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here
Exactly.
is like a very specific.
And truly, I love the image of that girl outside the bathroom at the club being a goddess.
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
She's a goddess. And so like the people who do live there, they get to see the statue in like the day, and it's just this. It's a far less glamorous sight. Yeah, like they see the cracks, they see the like sunken eyes,
The mascara.
Oh, they don't have
running.
Yeah, the
like,
mascara
you know how
running.
like fountains and statues at night. I'm really thinking of
They're
Vegas.
like
They have the
lit.
spotlights
Yes,
on it
they're lit beautifully.
and then in day they don't
They're
need
just like-
that.
Yeah.
They're just like fine.
They're
That's
just like, it's chill.
Yeah,
that's like
okay.
up lights from the ground versus down lights from the sun.
Absolutely. I love the idea that people rub her toes for luck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
she's
wrote that
got
down
these-
too.
Yeah, it's so
That-
funny.
it's like whenever there's like a black statue of a dog,
and it's like the
down
nose
gold.
is
Yeah.
gold. It's
That's
so
exactly
great.
what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
That's what they do
absolutely.
in England. The politicians rub Winston Churchill's toes for luck.
Yeah.
Really?
That's a weird
That's a real
person's
fact.
Yeah.
thing. Any
That's
other statue,
wild.
honestly.
It's Winston. It's
Winston.
W. Chur.
W. Chur. Yes.
Sorry. Side fact.
I love that. That's a great fact.
People in there call him the chill.
The chill. The big chill.
All right,
See
I'm
the
out.
big chill.
I gotta leave.
Yeah, I got it.
This podcast was really fun, but I think that was the end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bex, I believe you're next. I also want to throw this out. You can make a landmark in the district that you didn't make.
Oh, I'm going to.
I want to make a resident in the engineering corps.
Nice.
So there's got to be a landmark to put a resident in.
Oh.
We're gonna do
the-
multiple rounds. This is one where we're gonna do it multiple times. So
Cool.
round.
Bex, thank you for teaching us all that.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm glad I can
New
make mistakes
mechanic.
for
No
everyone
worries.
else to learn from.
Yeah.
Then I want to put the landmark as the hub.
The hub.
The hub
In
of the
eng-
engineering corps. Like the zone that was used to make things work that is no longer used for that, but is like specifically the area that has the machines that were utilized.
Like the old heart.
So why?
It used to be beating and now it's
Now it's not.
yeah.
I would love to come up with a specific thing it did during the war that no longer needs to be done now. That it was about. And I think having that place be a landmark and have it be a meeting place for all these people is great. But I do kind of want to know why this part didn't get repurposed when the rest of the engineering corps
Was it like
is.
the medical ward? It was like the wide,
Ooh.
like
Oh.
the mass medical ward.
Maybe.
Or like the spell factory, right?
Yeah.
And like making all the little glass.
I think they could
but
still use
they
that.
still
Still
have
make
that.
that.
They could
They
still
have
make
a
that.
bunch of them, but they might not be making more, right?
I think they are.
I think they are. I think
That's
they're
just me
more.
personally as a storyteller. I think they are.
I
Yeah.
think that. I
Yeah.
think that I like sort of the hospital or something else that was like dedicated for this war effort that can only be used for the war effort of like mass casualty, mass
Yeah.
wounded.
Yeah, the scale
Yeah.
of it is like far too much for it to be like a functioning regular medical thing. And there's like offices, there's meeting places, there's cafeterias.
There's like a
it's
WeWork
huge.
in there now.
Yeah.
So could we maybe call it?
turned WeWork.
Oh, I wonder. Wait, actually, weird pitch. Also, what if it's the old church?
Yeah, I like that. The hub is a little bit of a generic name for this specific thing.
But
Let's
the
come up with a
heart
better
would
name.
make sense.
The heart.
I like the heart.
The
Because
heart
if
is
it
great.
if it would be like they would use it as they call it the heart now because that was the signage for a medical ward.
Yeah.
Instead of like the Red Cross that we have
Yeah.
here, it's just a heart.
Yeah.
Which is modeled after a butt.
And also the HP.
Ooh,
The HP symbol.
Ooh.
yeah.
The Heart Pavilion, the
heart.
HP.
The Heart Pavilion. The HP.
Yes!
The HP.
That's putting your D&D into your story.
There we go, the Heart Pavilion.
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. I love that. Thank you. Cool. Who goes next?
I'm last.
Ian, you're last?
Oh, but is it me?
It's your turn.
Oh,
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah. Finally, my time.
Da, da,
My
da.
move.
I think I'm gonna make I'm gonna make a landmark.
Okay.
And it's gonna be in the college town.
Nice.
Okay.
And I think that's the magistrate's office.
Ooh.
Right? So if everything is separated out into like what school you're at,
Yeah.
I think there's one central office where you go to maybe like sign up for your school, or also the people that send you
That
to
coordinates with all the different
Yeah.
schools.
right, and
Yeah.
runs them and keeps them in line for the greater needs of the society. And
Working in student affairs was awful.
it's student
Yeah.
affairs, but
Yeah.
through like a more
Government,
USSRian
yeah.
kind of
The magical
dictatorship.
guidance counselor.
Yeah. I mean, the administrator's syndicate.
Yeah,
She
The
casts
administrator.
guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
that's so funny.
What'd you say? What?
That's
She
the
casts
funniest
guidance.
thing. The guidance counselor is just casting
And she
guidance.
goes, welcome, guidance. All right, what did you want to talk about? Changing your major or whatever?
Guidance.
The paperwork. Guidance.
You know, I hate how much I love this.
Yeah, that's very funny. I really like that. It's so funny.
That's really good. Okay. To close out this round, at the end of each round, the GM will cause an event.
Done.
Something happens and the world is changed in some way. Each player will focus on so I'm going to say what happens, and each of you are going to focus on a region or landmark, but not a specific resident.
Okay.
This is about how these events affect neighborhoods as a whole.
Okay.
That's good because we don't have any residents yet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And after I say the event, you will do one of three things. You can ask an unanswered question, which we will not answer. You can state a biased opinion or reaction to the event, or you can show a consequence of the event.
Ooh, okay.
And sorry, we just explain the mechanics of unanswered question.
Sure.
What's the point
I'm
of
going to
it?
say something happens.
Yes.
You can say,
Who's behind this?
yeah.
Oh,
like
and
who's really behind it? And we're not going to answer the
Yeah.
question today.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's
sweet.
something for me for later.
That's kind
Yeah.
of sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's straight out of I'm sorry, did you say Street Magic?
Yeah.
I'm glad that because I thought you were about to say that's straight out of Digimon, and I was like, no, it's not. I watched that show.
What? I'm sorry, hold on, derail. Why would it have been Digimon?
You said because you stopped mid. Did you say Street Magic? So you said
Oh,
Digi.
Digi. Got it.
Digi.
Fair.
I think for the compass of towering, I think that a major portion of the constellation falls.
Oh,
Whoa.
shit.
Yeah.
Why'd you got? We just
think-
built it.
I know.
We literally just
has
made
to
it.
fall.
Welcome to events.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It has to.
It does. It's
Yeah.
floating.
Well,
Yeah.
it was.
What comes up
Or part of it
must come down.
And like the way I was thinking of it
I
is
thi-
like the
Yeah, I think it's purely structural. I don't think anybody was in it when it fell.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's part of the suspension apparatus, like crumbled and just sort of like a piece of it fell off.
Yeah.
But it landed below.
Yeah.
Yikes!
So yeah.
Big old yikes there.
I believe Lynn was
Yes.
first in this round.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I'm really inspired by what goes
Just
up.
want to say my dice rolling contribution has really added to the mechanics of this. and
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Just so we know.
You know, and I'm so glad that you thought to use dice in a game. No one's ever really done that before, and that's
Yeah.
really innovative. of you.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Truly.
Okay, so nice to meet everyone. I think I'm gonna get out of here.
Oh, was that the time I got to go?
Oh yeah, you're hard out.
Oh, I got the guy. Hey, thanks for my
Mom, they're
time.
being mean. Can you pick me up?
I used the excuse my mom's calling for so long with friends who also use it as a bit, but when I moved to LA, I started using it, and everyone was like, "Oh, is your mom actually calling?" I was like, "No."
Of course not. Never.
She only calls me once every 2 months.
All
It's a
right.
healthy boundary.
Yeah, we're
it?
just all neurodivergent and
That's
like
fair.
very independent. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's real.
It's no hard feelings for either of us.
I love that.
Anyway,
So you're gonna pick one of our regions or one of our
unanswered
landmarks that is
question.
affected. You're gonna ask a question about it. You're gonna state a biased opinion, or you're going to show a consequence.
yeah, I think my unanswered question is, how long until it all comes down.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Damn, that
Absolutely.
was fucking hardcore.
Ooh.
That was hardcore.
Yeah.
And I think that's that I'm doing that as the question that's unanswered for a lot of people. Like from their point of view is like,
Yeah.
Yeah, what's gonna happen?
Well, and I mean, I think that there's even a question of like insecurity from the people who live there.
Yeah,
It's
like
are
I
we
think
gonna
it's-
crash?
I think
Yeah.
it's literally everyone,
Yeah.
and no one really wants to say it
Mhm.
because it has really bad consequences for literally everyone.
Well, I
involved.
want to put a region in where it's like they could have gone up to
Yeah.
the constellation, but they're afraid of it falling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're
So they
Well,
move away.
They
So
have
yeah,
their own
so
district.
so your things in future rounds can be about
Yeah.
the events that happened in previous rounds.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
That's the game of it.
Yeah.
This is I know it seems like we're just discussing things for our story podcast, but this is a game with mechanics.
Yeah, mechanics.
And engineers. But
I know this is a podcast, so I can't put an eye roll into the show, but
I roll.
Mayanna, I think you're next.
Okay, yes. I think the biased opinion from the constellation is like we probably didn't need that. That's chill. We probably didn't need that part. You know, I bet you it was just all rusty and bad. And if it wanted to stick around, it would have. You know, it's really about willpower. And you gotta want it. And if you don't want it, you're gonna fall. So
That's
this feels like a quote from one of the Nepo people on the constellation who has not gone to school,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
but is still in a position of
The way-
power.
Yep.
Yeah. The way you stay elevated is you pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, you toss what's not working. If it doesn't have a
Buzzwords,
job,
You gotta just disrupt it.
get a job. Part of building.
No. That was worse than engineers.
Wow.
Bex, your turn.
Oh no.
I'm in pain.
This is great. This is gonna be a good show, you guys.
Roll for psychic damage.
Oh my god.
I am gonna go with a consequence.
Okay.
The piece that fell shattered the Heart Pavilion.
Oh fuck!
I'm sorry. Was the Heart Pavilion was on the constellation? Was
No.
it not?
It's on the ground.
Oh, it's on the ground. Okay, I understand.
This all has to do with where the engineering core ends up being.
Yeah, I had thought that the engineering
You'll figure it
section
out.
was in the.
Oh,
I think
my
that
bad.
doesn't preclude it. I think that like if something fell, like maybe there was like a sinkhole that like
There
ate
could
part of the
also,
surface.
I mean,
of
there
it.
could be a surface version and a floating version in theory, because if
Two
it was-
pavilions.
There's also a version which shattered, another cracked, right? If half of the Heart Pavilion is still up there and
Yeah.
it like split.
Broken
right
heart.
on the side.
Broken heart.
Oh!
It's a refraction.
Oh, that's it. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. Broken
The
heart.
broken heart.
I just got
Oh,
chills.
brutal.
Ian,
Okay.
React
Consequence,
to that.
unanswered question, or what was the third one?
a
Biased
biased
opinion.
opinion.
A biased opinion.
And by biased opinion, I mean from the bias of one of the communities we've made.
Yeah. I think the biased opinion would be the flip side of the biased opinion of it not mattering is that it's a conspiracy.
that someone wants to make us afraid.
Yeah, or that
Oh.
the whatever this
Something was important there and they got rid of it.
Yeah, I love that.
Or they're trying to stoke fear. They're trying to make us think we're gonna fall. We'll
Yeah.
never fall.
Yeah.
We'll never
Or
fall.
or also that the whatever the thing was that we were fighting like secretly had power and did
pinning it on the
Yeah, right.
invisible
Keeping those
threat.
the Glorfenflorkens
The
did.
Glorfenflorkens.
Sure.
Okay, but that actually has to be what they are now.
It's absolutely 100% not because I don't have confidence that I can say that over and over
That's
on a
fair.
podcast.
That's
It's
fair.
It's really got to be
we
sayable.
all said it separately.
I know.
In different ways.
Unique new Glorfenflorken.
You've been doing Star Trek for too long.
Yeah.
I love
No such
this.
thing.
This game is gonna be really cool.
Oh
Okay,
my god, we're doing so great.
Yeah.
Let's
we're really podcasting, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great.
The Wandering Path was created by me, Mischa Stanton, and produced by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Raffil, and me. This story was game mastered and sound designed by me, Mischa Stanton, and was played and performed by Bex Taylor Klaus, Lynn Raffil, Ian McEwen, and Mayanna Barron. Cover art by Lynn Raffil, and music courtesy of the Independent Music Licensing Collective. Our production and house manager is Erin Bark. If you like what you're listening to, please tell your friends and let them know where to find us. Our website is wanderingpathpod.com, where you'll find links to subscribe and follow us wherever the path leads. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/wanderingpathpod. We're so grateful for anything you can do to help us keep making this show. Thanks for wandering with us. Till next time.